90% of all doctor's visits with a primary care physician over the last 5 years have either to do with stress or inflammation. What's up everyone? My name is Mitch. Thank you so much for checking out this video. So today we're going to be talking about and answering the question, what exactly is wellness? But before we get into that, I want to let you all know that there'll be timestamps at the beginning of the video as always, so feel free to jump around to whatever interests you the most. So to answer this broad question, we will do 3 things. First, we will take a look at some definitions from 3 different sources. The first source will be from the Global Wellness Institute, which in my totally non-biased opinion is probably my favorite. The second source will be from the National Wellness Institute. And last but not least, we're gonna take a look at WebMD, because everyone knows after spending at least 5 minutes on WebMD, not only do all your symptoms definitely point to you having cancer, but you're also now a doctor. So number 2, I'll go through each of these 3 sources individually, highlighting some of the most important information along the way. And then number 3, at the end of this video, I'll summarize the main points that each of these 3 sources have in common to provide a condensed version of the most critical aspects of what wellness is. So coming to the Global Wellness Institute's page, we're going to scroll through here and look at the definition first. So the Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that lead to a state of holistic health. And again, just scrolling down a couple of paragraphs below that definition, they talk about wellness as being an individual pursuit. Again, wellness being an individual pursuit is one of the most important aspects that I continually emphasize over and over again. What works well for you may not work well for your friend or your significant other or even a family member. So it's really important to undergo trial and error in these different topics to really find what works best for you at the end of the day. And then the paragraph just below the definition, I'm going to read a little bit here because I love the way it's worded. There are 2 important aspects to this definition. First, wellness is not a passive or static state, but rather an active pursuit. That's a key phrase, active pursuit, that is associated with intentions, choices, as we work towards an optimal state of health and well-being. Secondly, wellness is linked to holistic health. That is, it extends beyond the physical health and incorporates many different dimensions that should work together in harmony. So scrolling down through the page, we come to this section where they talk about wellness being multi-dimensional, and this is really key and crucial to understand what wellness is. So zooming in on the little blurb when they talk about what their dimensions are here, they list 6 dimensions, but they say that sometimes definitions can include up to 9 or even 12 dimensions. I like the 6-dimensional approach because you get up to 9 or 12 dimensions and things start getting a little complicated. So let's just see what these dimensions are about. So number 1, physical. They talk about a healthy body through exercise, nutrition, sleep, and I totally agree with that. Next, we come to mental, which they define as engagement with the world through learning, problem solving, and creativity. So kind of a mix of different things there. After that, we come to emotional. They define that as being in touch with, being aware of, being accepting of, which is very important, and able to express one's feelings and those of others. Next up is spiritual, and they don't really dive into religious doctrines of what spirituality is. They simply mean our search for meaning and purpose within our human existence. Next up, we have social. So they define this as connecting with, interacting with, and contributing to other people and our communities. And last but not least, they talk about environmental. They define environmental as a healthy physical environment, free of hazards, awareness of the role we have in bettering rather than denigrating the natural environment. And scrolling to the bottom of the page, they have this little blurb on wellness versus well-being or happiness. And I don't want to get into the details too much here, but I kind of just wanted to highlight a really important point. And to do that, the first bullet point of this summarizes it really well. Wellness is relation to intentions and actions, right? Like they said before, it's an active pursuit of a holistic state of health versus well-being or happiness. And I like the word happiness better because we don't really hear the word well-being too much in our society. Happiness is a perception of a state of being, right? So the way I like to think about that is wellness are all the things you do, all the activities that you do on a daily basis that, if done with enough discipline, will lead you to a state of well-being / happiness. Next, we're going to jump into the National Wellness Institute. So as we're on this page, scrolling down a little bit, we're going to get to their definition of wellness. They define wellness as an active process through which people become aware of, make choices toward, a more successful existence. So just like the definition of the Global Wellness Institute, we see that word active pop up again. So right above that definition, they have 3 bullet points with just some words that I like to read because I really like the way they summarize these points. They say wellness is a conscious, self-directed, and evolving process of achieving full potential. Wellness is multi-dimensional and holistic, encompassing lifestyle, mental, and spiritual well-being, and the environment. Wellness is positive and affirming. And I love that last bullet point. Even though it's very short, it's extremely accurate. Very similarly to the Global Wellness Institute, the National Wellness Institute also has a multidimensional component to the definition of wellness that they highlight with a cute little diagram. So zooming in on this diagram, we can see that they don't have the definitions from each of the little facets on this hexagon, but we can still read what each one is. So they have listed here occupational, physical, social, intellectual, spiritual, and emotional. So again, very similarly to the Global Wellness Institute, we see this idea of activism, and we also see this idea of wellness being multidimensional. So let's head over to everyone's favorite website, WebMD. So WebMD uses dictionary.com's definition of what wellness is. So let's take a look at what they say. So the definition on their website is the quality or state of being healthy in body and mind, especially as the result of deliberate effort. So again, it's interesting. We see that word deliberate, which is very similar to being active. So with the rest of this page, they talk about a little bit about the history and kind of where the word of wellness came from originally. I'm not going to go through that. I'm actually going to scroll down to the bottom here in the section where they say, let's ask again. And I like the last couple of sentences that they use in the first paragraph. Wellness is not a one-time thing. It is a living thing. You don't just get there and then say you're done. You need to keep creating it. It may even change over time, and it is different than everyone. I love these last few sentences because they really summarize, in my opinion, the 2 biggest keys of wellness, which is it's an active pursuit. You gotta work on it every single day, and it's completely individualized to you and where you're at in life, no matter what age you are. Okay, so now that we've looked at some information from the 3 different sources, I want to summarize the 3 biggest points to take away from what wellness is. So number 1, wellness is multi-dimensional. Again, as stated earlier in the video, you can have up to 9 or even 12 different dimensions, but I think there are 4 dimensions found in every definition of wellness that are absolutely critical. These are mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Number 2, which I've already repeated a lot in this video, is that wellness is an active pursuit. Wellness is not a one-time achievement thing. It's super important to keep up on these practices as consistently as you can. They are called practices for a reason because the more you do them, the better you get at them. The more you do a certain task, the better you get at that certain task. And where wellness is concerned, the more you do these practices, the better you get at doing the practices, and that eventually leads to a positive snowball effect. And number 3, which at this point I probably sound like a broken record, but wellness is individualized to you. And the best way for you to achieve wellness is to undergo trial and error of the different practices and really see what works best for you. So just the last statement of this video that I think is really important is you may be wondering, okay, Mitch, this is really cool. You're giving us these fancy definitions of what wellness is, but why is wellness actually important? Well, I'm glad you asked. 90% of all doctor's visits with a primary care physician over the last 5 years have either to do with stress or inflammation. A lot of times these two entities, both stress and inflammation, go together hand in hand. So if you can rid your body of stress and rid your body of inflammation, or both at the same time, you can theoretically cut down on 90% of all doctor visits that you may encounter in the future. Obviously, I'm not quite meaning that so literally, but you get the idea. Wellness is so important because it helps you live a healthier, stronger, and happier life. And again, please just don't take my word for it. My goal is to provide you with the specific tools that you can try for yourself and see how big of an impact it makes on your life. Again, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're interested in more content like this, please hit that like button and subscribe down below. Again, thank you so much for checking out this video, and I can't wait to see you all on the next one.